Today I want to show you a little trick for inserting capsular tension rings. The first step when you're putting in a CTR is to fully inflate the bag to reduce any folds within the capsule where it might snag or get caught up and ultimately interfere with smooth insertion. A good rule of thumb is if you think it's full, you should just put in a little more. And here you can see I'm using a preloaded CTR, and I simply put the Sinskey hook through the leading eyelet, and that allows me, as I deploy, to get a good amount of that CTR within the capsular sulcus before I allow it to deploy more fully. I think this helps to prevent it from snagging. It also makes it so that it's coming into contact over a broader length on that first contact, which I also think facilitates a smooth insertion. When I'm using a CTR, there are a couple things that I do a little differently when I'm removing viscoelastic. One is I don't go behind the lens. I usually use a two-compartment technique where I go behind the lens and remove the viscoelastic. But in this case, in cases where I'm using a CTR, I simply stay in front. And that's to stay away from any redundancy or floppiness of the capsular bag, and also to avoid inducing more zonular trauma. And here you can see that using the CTR in this patient with 27 millimeter eye and pigmentary glaucoma centers quite nicely. And here's another case where I think that this technique is helpful. This is a traumatic cataract. You can see that there's an inferior iridodialysis, and one would presume a zonular dialysis or weakness in that area. And I'm actually electing to put in the CTR before I've removed all the cortex. And so in this particular case, again, I'm going to put it in the eyelet. I happen to be right-handed, so this is a easy technique for me to accomplish through the left-sided paracentesis. And this allows me in this particular case to bypass that entire area of focal zonular weakness before I let it go. One could easily do this from the opposite direction and simply make a second paracentesis if you had superior zonular weakness. Of course, you want to remember to inject the CTR in the direction of the zonular weakness, which is a little counterintuitive, but what you want to prevent is stressing those already loose zonules, and instead you want to be putting any stress on the healthy zonules. And here you can see that with the CTR in place, I was uncertain whether I would need a capsular tension segment, but ultimately that proved unnecessary. Thanks for watching. Good luck.